Abarth was born in 1949, where they race developed and tuned various racing cars and road cars. Since then, the brand's been through lots of changes, and then Abarth was reborn in 2007.
Behind us we have one of their latest creations, the 595 Turismo, possibly one of the hottest hatches on the market today.
Yeah, just look at this car, it's superb. And I'm going to be looking at the functionality, the practicality, the styling, and seeing if it's a car that you want to have in your collection.
I'm going to be taking it on the road, seeing what it's like to drive, and then we'll bring you our verdict on whether or not this is the car for you.
When you step behind the wheel of the Turismo, you're met with a luxurious and premium feel. Admittedly, you've got some hard touch plastics, but everything else is complemented by coloured inserts, leathers, stitching, and overall it's very well put together and very well made. Okay, you will get the odd clunk, but it's an Abarth, so you kind of expect it. And just look at this gear knob. You've got polished metal with a carbon fibre style trim. And when you look at seats as well, they're all finished in very, very plush leather. And one of the other things that you'll notice is that Abarth try and make this their own. So they put little things like the inserts, the Abarth little symbols on the car mats. And you've got the kick plates, which are done in a carbon fibre style trim. The functionality in this car is very good. You've got your digital dashboard, you've also got your little gauge, and you've got this sport button, and that's where the magic happens. I'll let Michael discuss more about that there. But when you press it, it does change between two dash setouts, which is really good. You've also got your media controls on the steering wheel, you've got a touch screen infotainment system with sat nav and Bluetooth, and you've got climate control. I mean, you do get the other type of functionality such as hill start assist, but there's no automated lights, there's no cruise control, but in all honesty, you don't need it. The practicality in this car is extremely good, considering its size. I'm 6'3", I've got decent headroom, I've also got decent legroom. Because of the height of the seat, it means that I can pull it a bit further forward to give the rear passengers a little more room. And you do need it. One thing you'll notice on this seat is this little handle. Now this will drop the seat at the back. Now it would have been nice to see more adjustments so you could drop the seat fully. And then that way, you're in your racing mode. Also, its positioning is a bit close to the handbrake, but you do get used to it. Steering wheel wise, you can adjust the up and down, but there's no reach adjustment. But you don't really need it because of the size of the car. Storage, decent door bins. You've also got a decent sized glove box as well. And you've got some cup holders here and what I call a chewing gum pot. And then next to an auxiliary and a USB port. Okay, stepping into the rear of the car isn't the most dignified thing, but the thing you have to remember is you can actually get two people in here. I mean, look, I'm relatively comfortable, which you just don't expect. Got lots of nice leathers here as well. You've got a coat hook, there's no ISOFIX points, and you've got cup holders and no door pockets, but you don't really expect them in this car. One thing you do need to do is hold tight.
Coming to the rear of the car, it's just the same as a normal 500C. If you do forget to put the roof back up when you want to get to the boot, it will automatically go back up. Now when you get back here, there is a decent amount of space. You can fit a large suitcase, however the opening is a little narrow, so loading larger items might be a bit difficult. There is also a compressor and a can of tyre foam back there if you get a flat.
Certainly tell this is a 500C, but this badge here, the Abarth badge, screams passion and flair from the Italians. And you can see from the restyle front bumper, the Abarth signature, and just the overall look. The 595 Abarth really encapsulates the essence of Italian racing, and you can tell just by the retro styling. It really does have that flair. And if you just take a second to look at the styling at the front of the car, you can see that it really is a beautiful looking machine, but it has modern touches as well. For example, you've got your daytime running lamps, and you've also got this two-tone paint with the iconic black bonnet. And if you can see there, that's the turbo gauge. The style and flair is just carried throughout the car. When you look at the side of the car, you can immediately see this is a race-tuned vehicle. Look at its stance. It's nice and low, and that's because of the Coney rear dampers. And when you look at the paintwork and the sporty side skirts, it just looks very Italian. There's no mod cons here. You don't have electric folding mirrors, you don't have keyless entry. But do you really need it? You're going for a retro racer here. And if you just look at the overall style of the car, it really screams Italian. You've got the 17-inch alloy wheels with the 40 profile tyre. You've got the iconic Scorpion, and you've got front and rear vented discs. And look, an electric hood. And it's got two settings, so it'll come back to about there, and then you can drop it right down so you can have the roof fully down. What's better? The rear of the Abarth really screams Italian flair, and it screams passion. You can tell that this was forged on racing spirit. You can see the rear diffuser, you've got the twin exhausts, you've also got the vents and the modern touch of the parking sensors, but the whole rear just works. And just listen to the sound it makes. It's amazing. The Abarth 595 really does sound like a real power-hungry pocket rocket, and that's what it is. It is a 500c on steroids.
So what's the 595 Turismo like to drive? Well, you might expect it to be a light, bubbly little car like the normal 500. However, it's actually one of the hottest hatches you can buy today. Now, I first of all must apologise for some of the juddery camera work. This does have very firm suspension, however, it is worth it. Now, this car is powered by a 1.4 litre turbo engine, producing 165 brake horsepower with a Garrett turbo, which means it really does fly when you want it to. Along with that great sounding exhaust, some heavy steering and this very tight gearbox, it is one hell of a car to drive. The nice thing is about this car, although it is a proper hot hatch, if you do want to poodle around town, you want light steering so it's easy to manoeuvre, then all you do is press the sport button and the car slackens off. So it makes it very usable around the town, which is important if you're going for a car that you want every day. The suspension in this car is so well sorted. It goes around corners like it's on rails. However, because of the wide tyres, the large rims and the car being lowered, it does mean that when you're trying to carry out a manoeuvre, this car does have a very wide turning circle. On the back of this car you've got Coney suspension. Now the big thing we're wondering is why it isn't on the front. However, this car still goes around corners like it's on rails. Now when I press the sport button again, you drop a gear and the steering tightens up and this car flies. It has got an amazing sounding exhaust. It's such a hoot to drive. I will admit, when I drove the Competizione last year back at SMMT, I did have some reservations about the car. I thought that it would be too loud, it would be too uncomfortable, and you wouldn't be able to live with it every day. Now I've done nearly 1,000 miles in a week, and the ride, although it is firm, you can live with it, and the noise, because you can turn off the sports mode, it's not a loud bellowing noise when you're going along the motorway. The gearbox in this car has a very short shift. The ratios are very good as well. It's just right for this car. Now because this is the convertible, there is a slight bit more road noise than the hardtop version. However, the nice thing is this is electrically operated and it goes up and down with ease. The dashboard's very clear, the instruments are laid out very well. The retro styling that carries over from the standard 500 is very nice as well. There's nice touches with the metal gear knob and the metal pedals. It just makes you feel a little bit more special. It really has the essence of a Abarth. This car has some very impressive performance figures. It'll do 0 to 62 in 7.3 seconds and it'll top out at 135. The amazing part is, because it's got the Coney suspension on the rear and it's got this very tight direct steering, you're able to go into corners very quickly, and also you have the power to pull you out afterwards. Abarth claimed that this car will get 38 mpg. We've achieved 36, and that's over 1,000 miles on various different types of roads, which is very impressive. Overall, we're very impressed with the 595 Turismo. There are some things to consider. If you do drive it the way that it's supposed to be driven, you will go through a lot of tyres. There is a large amount of torque steer if you try and do a launch, and in all honesty, don't give this to a 17-year-old because they'll get themselves in far too much trouble.
So what's our verdict on the 595 Abarth?
Well, despite the weather being absolutely freezing, we thoroughly enjoyed testing this car.
I mean, you can tell by its looks, it's a purebred racing car.
Now, there are some slight niggles. The fact that the turning circle is the size of a small bus and the height adjustment in the seat being right next to the handbrake mean that every time you want to go and put the handbrake on, you pull your seat right up. But all those problems amount to nothing when you drive this car.
Well, they're not even problems, they're more like niggles, as you said, but the sound of it, the feel of it, it doesn't matter about how easily it turns, because when you're on a back lane and you're pushing this thing, it's like it's on rails, isn't it?
It is possibly one of the best hot hatches you can buy today, and it's the only convertible one you can buy.
With an electric roof, the world is your oyster. You just bomb along, roof down, and you can hear the tone of the engine and that twin exhaust.
Like, the fact is, you can still carry 4 people in it, although it might be a bit of a squeeze. You can carry a large suitcase in there, so it's actually fairly practical for what it is.
It is. It's a great car.
If you're in the market for a hot hatch, it's well worth looking at the 595 Turismo.
For more impartial car reviews, please subscribe to our channel.